All right. So thank you. Just figure this out. Great. Okay, so communication. It is a topic we have heard over and over and over. We've heard it to death, probably. It's lost its punch. Um, we know deep down that it's really important, but we don't really understand it. If we could actually understand it, it would be a game changer. Because it's not just central to the work that we do, it is foundational to everything that we do. So I'm here to share with you today a communication model that claims to finally break open Pandora's box and explain not just how we communicate, but why. The model holds the power to completely change the way that we understand communication, ourselves, each other, and the world. That's a big claim. I intend to back it up. First, though, let me share a little bit with you about myself. That's me. I grew up around the world. My dad worked for the US Embassy. So every 3 years we moved to a new continent. North and South America, Asia, Africa, Europe. I knew intuitively that if I was going to have a good time in any one place, I would need to connect quickly because we'd soon be moving on once again. So how do people connect? Through talk. So from a very early age, I became a full-time student of communication. As I studied communication, I found it to be impossibly confusing. I loved the deep intellectual talks and the deep heart-to-heart talks, but they made some people bored and others uncomfortable. Some people loved small talk. I couldn't figure out why. And we all had different senses of humor. If a joke is funny, isn't it funny? Shouldn't it be funny to everyone? Why is it that we can walk into a cocktail party and just immediately connect with somebody, some person, that so much that we lose track of time, and with somebody else, we have to work to think of things to say? If a person is a great communicator, easy to talk to, an interesting person, shouldn't everyone find them easy to talk to and interesting? But we don't. What is going on? Communication science teaches us, tries to simplify the picture, to make things make sense. Men talk this way, women talk that way. Or rules like don't interrupt, don't try to fix it. Or like our mom's favorite, you want to make friends, join a book club or a sports club or your favorite hobby. But that doesn't add up either. If it did, we would be best friends with everyone who shared our college major. So I spent the last 35 years, oh, and by the way, this is why we're asked to buy into this communication theory even when it doesn't work. Would we get on a plane if the laws of physics only sometimes worked? So I spent the last 35 years across 40 countries trying to find answers. It wasn't to create a communication model. It was to feel like I could find a way to fit in when I didn't feel like I did. And instead of letting all of that unbelonging feeling ickiness crush me, I was curious and stubborn enough to keep going. Every time I found an exception, something that didn't quite ring true, I tweaked my model. I published my answers in this book last year. which contains the answers to the questions that I've been looking to answer for 35 years. I'm happy to share my findings with you today. But first, let me start with a true story. This happened when I was a PhD student at UCLA. I was going to class like any student would, and there was a conference going on, much like today, and so everyone was walking around with lanyards, and I got into an elevator to get to class, and 3 people joined me in the elevator. These folks didn't really know each other very well, so it was a little awkward for them. Doors closed. The woman started talking to the man next to her to try and get conversation going. She said, "Did I ever tell you the story about when I got stuck on an elevator?" Well, the man, who did not communicate like this woman, simply said, "No." Well, that wasn't what she was hoping for, so she went on again. "Well, a whole bunch of us were on this elevator. We were going up to our floor. We were just about to get there, and then, bam, the elevator dropped, and we were stuck." Again, the man said, "Do you know what year the elevator was built?" "I don't know any of that. I just thought I was going to die." At this point, the man realizes he's starting to offend her a little bit, ruffling her feathers. He doesn't want to, so he tries to explain himself. He said, no. It's just that prior to the year 1910, most elevators could only handle about 1,000 pounds. That made it worse, not better. She said, "Well, I know some of us could stand to lose a few pounds." Then jumps in the third man. And he notices this going on, and he tries to calm things down too, but he takes a different approach. He said, "Well, actually, I always had a fear of elevators. But I actually got stuck on one too. But from that experience, I learned that the fear of something is often worse than the thing itself." Now, while listening to this story, you probably could identify with 1 or 2 of these individuals more than the third one. Probably all of us can. So why? What's going on? The reason is because these aren't just stereotypes or archetypes. They represent the 3 fundamental communication categories that make up all human talk. Let's unpack this by stepping back as far as we can. I'm talking stepping way back. Okay? We're going to start with, what is human talk made of? Just going to get technical for a second, but we'll bring it back. This is it. All human talk boils down to information and experiences. That's it. That's all that exists. If that's the clay, we can make all sorts of things with the clay, but there's only one clay. That's information and experiences. That's it. With nothing else exists. Okay, so that's where we start. It's the only thing we have to talk about. But then, so we're all the same here. We all have the same stuff to talk about. But now we start to differ. Because some of us prefer to talk and share our understanding, while some of us prefer to talk about our experiences. Now, to get away from using that word twice, we could think of sharing our experiences as qualia. It's a philosophy of mind word or term that refers to the subjective stuff going on inside that we can't convey to other people without words. So all people on the planet, doesn't matter the culture, the religion, the demographic, it doesn't matter any of that. We only do two things with the stuff that we have to talk about. But then what actually happens next? Well, we ultimately end up with three reasons for talking. Why? Because understanding can be objective or subjective. This is it. These are the three fundamental reasons that human beings talk across the planet. Objective understanding, that was the guy in the elevator who wanted to share facts. When he talks, he wants to understand objectively, anything that can be objectively understood, he wants to understand it. Or he wants to share it, rather. And when he's listening for objective information to try and add that to the framework that exists in his mind. The B, the woman, could have been a man, or any of these can be men or women. The B, the woman, was trying to share her subjective experience. Let me share with you the flavor of what happened. Let me retell the story. Not because I want to come to a profound conclusion, because I want to relate. I want to be heard. That's it. And then the second man, the C, he was a C. He was doing C, and he was sharing the subjective truths or insight that he had gleaned from his life. Okay, now, we don't like all of these kinds of talk the same. As a kid, when I had those big questions, why is it that we can connect with some people quickly and easily and others it's hard? This is why. Because we rank them differently. Some people, if we were to rank them in order of preference from our most favorite to our least favorite, we would have some people, A would be their favorite, B second, C third. Some people would rank C first and B second. There are only 6 ways to rank these categories. And there they are. 6 talk types across the planet. And the more closely aligned we are with others, the quicker and easier connection is. Now, we can, of course, be in conversation with someone who has a very different ranking than us or different talk type, but we can still find ways to connect. It's just not going to be likely as quick or as easy. Everyone in the world is one of these 6 talk types. Some people you may know. Bill Gates, you can see that he leads with facts and information, and underneath he might pepper in a little personal anecdote just for fun. Whereas Barack Obama leads with information, but underneath is very serious and will talk about the subjective truths behind that information. What does that mean for communities and neighborhoods? BAs lead with the fun, relating to each other, and underneath is facts. Their A sits at the service of their B. If it gets too deep or vulnerable, they're not interested. They'll make a joke to get out of it. Whereas someone like Amy Schumer will throw those C jokes in your face. And watching you be uncomfortable is kind of fun for her. Doesn't have to be that way with all BCs, but that's just one example. And then we've got the C dominance. Jon Stewart, who leads with the gravitas in an interview when he's sort of outside of that his media personality, you can see that he actually cares a lot about meaning, and then the facts serve that. And then Oprah Winfrey is our sort of quintessential CB, leading with that deep, heartfelt, leaning in, and then making jokes B jokes relating. Oh, I see you got your nails done. Okay. Get this to work. These talk types explain why we talk, which in turn explains how we talk, which leads to who we are. How we talk, we can recognize, for ourselves, we can identify our own talk types by the why. We have access to that. We know why we talk, or if we don't know yet, we can figure it out. But other people, we don't have access to their why unless they tell us. So instead, we use a proxy. Body language, tone of voice, words used, structure of talk. And then ultimately, that makes us all different. It feeds into our values, our sense of humor, our media preferences, what we think is fun, and even the way we flirt. All right, we're going to look at one more example, and then we'll go into some real-life examples. This is an example where we have the same situation, but we're going to get different responses based on whether it's an A, B, or C dominant talking. So let's just say the situation here, the company changed a parking policy, permitting only executives to park below the building. Everybody else has to walk 3 blocks. So now the A is going to, maybe they come home and they talk to their partner about their day. Well, the A is going to say, well, just the facts. Okay, remember the reality input? The only thing that exists, facts and experiences. This is how the A is going to interface with that. The A says, well, the company changed the parking policy today. And maybe draw some objective insight. If these cuts continue, they may lose their most valuable employees. But it's a matter of fact, cause-effect relationship. The B is going to share their emotional response. Can you believe they're making us walk 3 blocks and then express the feelings within the meeting? It was so tense. Everyone was so upset. Now the C is going to draw meaning from that and significance. So, I mean, this shows how little they care, and honestly, I think it marks a shift in company culture. And you can see, even as I do this, and this is a relatively narrow example, but I could exaggerate. The body language changes, the tone of voice changes. When I'm A, and it's very matter of fact, here's what's happening. With B, there's a whole range of ways to express the flavor of the moment of the situation. And then with C, we might purse our lips and pause and let that feeling settle. So let's have a look at what this looks like in advertising. I have 3 ads for us. They are all Father's Day ads. So hopefully we'll do our best to compare apples with apples. The first one is A. It's an example of A, and this is Uber, the Uber airport dad.
Reserver of Uber rides.
Could you go back? We only have 30 seconds on this one, so.
Last
Yeah,
we see you.
Airport dad, protector of passports,
Reserver of Uber rides.
months in advance. Last time you missed a flight? Never. You're the reason your family made it here, just in time to be 5 hours early. to all the airport dads. Now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance.
Okay. Now let's have a look at the B example, which is peanut butter Cheerios. How to dad. This is abbreviated. The normal.
Oh!
You awake?
Yeah, of course I'm awake. Is that a new mask?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. It's really creepy.
I know, right?
Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks.
Hey, let me introduce myself. My name is, and proud of it, and all dads should be.
Why? You know why. Kids think we're awesome. We get our hands messy. We tell hilarious jokes.
Hey, Victoria, that profile pic? Awesome.
Kids, they're our best friends. They're our greatest fans.
Buddy, you've been gaining muscle mass. Nice. And they look to us like the same way we look at superheroes. Up, because we're taller. Now, dadhood isn't always easy, and we wouldn't have it any other way, because being a dad is awesome. Just like new peanut butter Cheerios are awesome. That's why it's the official cereal of dadhood. And this, my friends, this is how to dad.
Okay. You feeling the B? Now the C. This is Dove. It'll go for a minute.
Daddy? Daddy?
Dad?
Dad.
Dove Men Plus Care. Care makes a man stronger. Share how care makes you stronger with #RealStrength.
Okay. So if you needed Kleenex on the third one, then you must have C in your talk type. So looking at these, thinking about the elevator story, and considering which of the 3 people or 3 ads that you connect to most or least, we all can likely do that here. We are going to be able to, we probably have a favorite, a second favorite, and then one of them that just kind of doesn't resonate with us much at all. That ultimately is a reflection of our talk type. Okay, I mentioned at the beginning of this talk that the talk type model is a game changer. I hope you're starting to see some of that, but in case you're not, I have some takeaways for us. Talk types changes how we connect as people, how businesses connect with audiences, and how machines connect with us. It doesn't get much bigger than that. Some examples. When we realize that communication ends up breaking down into these 6 talk types, we stop taking communication struggles personally. It shifts our mindset from frustration to acceptance. It's the I'm okay, you're okay. Talk types gives us a blueprint for understanding conflict because it's usually not about the thing itself. It's the way that it's processed. It helps us to improve our relationship and to be able to navigate any conversation with grace and confidence. Helps us make better decisions. We don't have to go on 6 first dates. We can hire the right people sooner. And we can optimize our social and emotional investments and keep the relationships we want, nurture the ones we want to the extent we want, and those that we want to let fall away, we can, but we can do so intentionally in ways that minimize harm. Here is an example of there are many ways to diagram these relationships. This is one very simple way. So if you see in relationship 2 people with differing talk types, this will, basic Punnett square will show us where these 2 are likely to spend the majority of their talk time, which is B. You've got a BA and a CB together. Where's their overlap? It's B. So if they're a couple, then they'll be likely talking B at home. The CB will likely need to get their C needs met with their friends or with somebody else, and the BA will need to get their A needs met somewhere as well, somewhere else. Businesses, connecting with audiences. I have 3 minutes, so I've got 3 minutes on my clock. Okay, so I'll just go through these quickly. We can tailor our messages, improve the customer experience, enhance our trust and loyalty by speaking the languages that people can connect to, because marketing, let's face it, is communication, and it's connection more than persuasion. Ultimately, companies that do that it will result in a competitive advantage versus those that do not. And then finally, how machines connect with people. Talk types ultimately operationalizes motivation for communication. This is something that many academic fields have been hesitant to touch. Motivation, something we can't see, feel, so we don't even want to go there. But talk types does go there. And when we operationalize something, then we can apply it. Until now, AI and large language models have been trained on syntax and semantics. Now they can be trained on motivation and why we talk in the first place. This will ultimately lead to appropriate interfacing and models that are motivation-driven instead of probability-driven, the glorified autocomplete. Whether in marketing or AI, the talk type model can lead us to adaptive interfacing in real time. All right, wish we had more time, but we don't. I appreciate your time, and I hope that you have found some insights here. Thank you.